Hello. Well, as regular viewers of my channel will know, I'm into more exciting things than VHS. But today I've got a couple of machines with the VHS logo on them that are a little bit more interesting than regular ones. And these are completely off the pile. I don't know what state they're in. Let's have a look. So we start with this Panasonic, I think this is a Super VHS machine, AG7350. So it's a professional machine. You can tell it's got manual, it's got old-fashioned VU meters. I like them. One of your meter controls is missing. Look, this is nice. On certain models of machine, they had linear stereo sound and hi-fi stereo sound, and you could mix them. And now and then that came in handy if you'd done audio dub and you wanted to alter the ratio of the hi-fi to linear audio. So it has various twiddlers and buttons, but what we don't seem to have, oh look, external sync you can have. NTSC 4.43, but no digital time-based corrector. So yeah, it's not really that special. It kind of looks special. And then below this we have this JVC BR6600E. So that's 6600. This is just VHS, not Super VHS. Again, it looks like we can mix the audio. Yes, we can mix how much hi-fi and non-hi-fi you get. That's a nice feature. You can see the signal level coming off the tape. I always like to see that. And a few other interesting features that you might not normally see. Audio limiter, switchable noise reduction. Let's have a look at the connectors at the back of both of these monsters. Oh well, as ever is the case with more professional equipment, the back is more interesting than the front. So yes, this must be a SVHS machine because I see we have an S-video connector. What other? So we can individually pick off the 4 audio tracks. We have, well, that's for outputs and inputs and S-video in and out. Some sort of obscure remote control connector, and that's it. That's your lot. Then the JVC. Oh look, dub connectors. So that is useful because even if the machine doesn't work, it could be useful as long as it powers up and runs. Because you could plug, I believe that's a U-matic dub connector type. You could plug that into a U-matic player and go from here to, no. I was about to say you could go from here to S-video. If this had had the dub connectors, that would have been useful, because then you could go from this type of separate luma and chroma to this type of separate luma and chroma, which is much easier to handle. But this will only go to composite video, so yeah. No use at all. Oh well. I got excited about that for a moment until I realised there's no S-video output on this. So, okay, well, they're slightly unusual machines. Shall we power them up? What order shall we do them in? Tell you what, I think I'm going to do the JVC first, because the Panasonic has a piece of sticky tape where the cassette door should be. And that implies there's something wrong. So let's start with the JVC. Right, we'll move the Panasonic out of the way for a moment, which is a lot lighter than the JVC. I hazard to guess it's an old machine. We'll just see if we can take a tape and handle that before we actually try to get a picture out of it. Also, look at this. This is a nice feature. I like this. You can open the door to the top of the head drum, I think this will be, so you can clean the heads without taking all the cabinet work off. Let's have a look, see if that's the case. Yes. It would be nice if those screws had been captive, really, wouldn't it? Come on, JVC, get a grip. So let me show you the top of that. So that's a nice feature. You can get to the head drum, you can get to the audio and control heads here to clean them, and various parts of the tape path without having to take the lid off. And there's an hours meter. It's an old-fashioned hours meter, and it's gone off the top of the scale. So it's obviously done some hours. I don't know what the scale is on there, but lots. Right, let's. I'll leave that open, I think, and we'll put a tape in and see what happens. Right, I've powered up my transformer, isolation transformer. 0 there, it says. It's making some odd noises. That may be no more than the fan. Alright, let's put a tape in. Oh, it didn't lace, of course, because it's VHS. Right, let's press play. Lacing quite slowly. Head's not rotating. Unlace. Don't think it succeeded in unlacing either. No, unlace didn't complete. Look. And the head drum didn't. Oh, the head drum is not a happy thing. Let's switch it off. Head drum was actually kind of stuck. Yes. So I think we need to look underneath this and see what's going on underneath. It's already a screw missing from underneath, so it's been apart at some point in the past. Oh look, bodge wires. Now, what do we have to do to swing this out of the way? So, I think the loading belt is probably slipping because it wasn't able to unlace properly. The drum is a direct drive, and I don't know why that's sticking. You know, there is something I really do like about this. Certain expensive machines have got, they do away with an awful lot of nonsense to do with reel drive and just have one motor per reel. Obviously it costs more to build that way, but it takes so much unreliable mechanism out of the machine, and you just finish up with 2 motors and no reel idlers, pendulums, gears and stuff to do the reel drive. So I really like that. This under here with capstan motor, that's direct drive as well. So they've gone for a nice simple design, and if they hadn't put this drive belt in on the loading motor, it would have been unbelievably reliable. Maybe I can change that belt. Let's have a look. It certainly looks like it's been designed to be easy to change, doesn't it? It's got feet on the back, so you can put it onto its back, which is nice. Oh, they could have made that a bit easier to change, that belt. But it's been made harder than it should be, because you have to take circlips off the end of this. Oh well, maybe we'll just see if we can muddle along with that belt for a moment. Get the rest of the machine working first. Come back to that one. Why is the drum difficult to turn? Maybe I'll just keep turning it a few times, it'll free up. It has an easy patch and a hard patch on the rotation. Really does seem to be stuck on that unlaced cycle. I think we've got it unlaced now. Let's try fast forward. That's working. Rewind. Let's try eject. Oh, a little bit of tape damage. Could have been a lot worse. So let's see if we can lubricate the lace and unlace mechanism. Okay, I've got it so that it is laced, but still the head drum is not really rotating. It's jammed up. it won't unlace properly. It tries to lace, it won't unlace. I can get it so that it more or less laces, but then it just sits there and the head drum doesn't rotate. The head drum is stuck fast, it's not happy. Warning, it says. It clearly understands it has a problem. Let's eject the tape. If it let me, it won't from that point. Try to get it to unlace. No, please don't try to lace again. So fast forward and rewind are just about the only things that do work. And eject from this point probably works more or less. There's the eject button again. More or less. So, though we're having problems with lace and unlace, that's a mechanical issue, we could work on that. A bigger problem is that the head drum is all jammed up. Right now, you know, that head drum is pretty much stuck. Let's power the machine down so it's not fighting me. That head drum is bound up, and you can push it and get it to turn a little bit. It clearly isn't well. What's going on there? I could slacken off these screws, pull the head drum a bit without releasing all the wires, and just see if it will rotate. See if it's that the top drum is binding on the bottom drum, or if it's some other problem. No, it's still sticking. Yeah, it's still sticking, even with the head drum loose. So the problem is the lower drum itself, the motor probably, or the bearings on the lower drum itself. Can I just free it up? It is slowly improving. Let's see if we can squirt something down there. Though I don't really think I can get to the bearings proper, but a bit of a squirt of something plus a bit more manipulation, I might be able to get it to rotate well enough to test the rest of the machine. Well, I still don't think it's going to have enough power to rotate past that sticky point. It's much better, but I still don't think it's quite there. Is that the strangest thing you've ever seen? Perhaps I should have a second channel for things that are not video related, because last time I released something that was not directly video related, i.e. fixing this thing, it didn't do very well. So maybe I should have a second channel. Anyhow, here we go. This is a battery pack and it all lights up. It's taking charge, but we're not getting any output. Well, we're getting nowhere with this sticky drum problem. So I'm going to have to take the head drum off, I think, the top head drum, and have a look and see if I can see the bearings underneath. Many years ago, I actually stripped the head drum right down so you could change the bearings in the event the owner and I weren't able to find any bearings of the right size, but that's probably a lot easier today. However, I don't plan on changing bearings in this thing, but let's see if I can find out what's binding on it. I'm going to move you over to the top so you can look down. We'll also take the cabinet work off this thing. Interestingly, the top comes off without having to take the sides off. A bit like a professional machine, which is trying to be. Now, a quick look here. I can see that the pinch roll is in fairly poor state. So that could be an issue too later. But we might be able to resolve that. So here's our head drum problem. Not good. It keeps binding. And the other problem we have is that this part of the lacing mechanism seems to be a bit sticky and it's not retracting properly. This side is. It also feels like it's not unlaced properly. It's not gone all the way, so it's come adrift somewhere. It may be that it's just fallen off the guide that's supposed to send it that way. So let's see if we can fix that first. I think I've done that. Yes, that feels right. Let's see what happens if I try to load a tape now. Ah, that's good. And then it gets to the end and sort of doesn't complete lace up. Alright. It's just not quite managing to complete the lace. That's relatively straightforward to fix. A much bigger problem is that the head drum is so jammed. Can I just rotate it enough that it's in a loose part? And let's see if it tries to rotate when I press play. Yes, it does. It tries to rotate that way. So you can see it's trying. It can't get past that sticky patch. Okay. Let's see if we can find out what's going on in that head drum. So I'll have to take the upper head off. Eject the tape. The heads look okay. It's actually 6 heads really, because there's hi-fi audio heads as well. Seems like quite a lot of heads, and I don't even know if this machine supports long play, so that could be quite a lot of heads. Not quite sure why there's so many. Okay, so we have 6 pairs of heads to desolder on each side before we can lift the head drum off. Typically, when you undo these screws on these older machines, these wires will go down to a transformer unit that's underneath. We don't know for sure though, do we? Should I just undo these screws and start lifting it off and see if these wires start to go taut? If they don't, it might all lift off in one piece. Let's have a look. I've already cut my hand messing with this thing. Right, let's see what happens if I start to lift the drum off. Of course, if it doesn't come off, you can use a head puller. Yes, look, the wires are going taut. You can see the wires are tightening up there. So I do need to desolder them. Let's look at it carefully. Right. So what they've done, if you look actually, see, they've got this sort of turquoise head block, connector block, and that's got a turquoise wire and a black one on it. And then they've got this maroon, and that's got a maroon wire and a grey, I think. And then they've got a grey, and that's got a grey and a white. And then going on the other side, you see, you start to see a system here. Got an orange block with an orange wire and a yellow one. And then I think it's a brown block. We've got a brown wire and a green one, and I think I've not quite desoldered that wire yet. I need to do that one. And then I've got a green block. There's got a green and a purple. So there's a kind of a system going on there. Now I should be able to pull the drum off. I've got a head puller tool, but I don't think I'll need it because they rarely bind up on this. There we go. Head drum off. Let's put that somewhere safe. Oh, you want to see the head drum, don't you? Zoom out just a tiny bit. So you see here they've got pairs of heads, and here one head. So one of those would be a hi-fi head. There again, one of those would be a hi-fi on this pair. One of those would be a hi-fi head. Right, I'm going to put that somewhere well out of the way. Got any closer to why this is binding? It might be this transformer unit itself that's binding. So what you get here, under here, is a set of rotary windings, and there'll be another set underneath on the stator. So it acts as a transformer and takes away this problem with the fact that this is rotating and the part below is stationary. I bet it is that. I bet that is a bit that's binding. Should I just squirt some lubricant in there? Extremely unlikely to help, but I think we're at the point of probably giving up here anyway. Obviously I have to make sure that there's none of that stuff left on the outside of the drum if I ever do get it back together. It's making a bit of a grinding noise, like something's come loose in there. Yeah, doesn't it sound like there's a bit of loose material in there? Well, it's better than it has been. It will spin on a little bit now, which it certainly never did before. Get it into a sticky patch and just tap it gently. Now, the alternative is to strip the whole drum off apart, but that would be a bit of a job. And it might make things worse. Now you might say, what would be the effect if it runs, if the head spins but it's still a bit sticky? And the answer is you'd get lateral wobble on a picture as the head kept speeding up and slowing down. So we need to get it as free as possible. Granted that maybe if I can get it working at all, then just leaving it playing might be enough for the drum to free up the rest of the way. By the way, I've just looked at one of the ICs on here and it's labelled 870 something, so that implies the machine is around about 1987. Are we in a position that it would run well enough that it might be able to free itself up? I think so. I can now spin the drum, which is more than I ever could before. But still sometimes it'll bind up. Still sometimes it can bind up. Shall we have a look underneath and see if there's any possibility of dismantling this drum? You'd have to take it out. You'd have to take the entire drum assembly out. I don't know what would be involved then, but it would be a major task. I think we may have to settle for that. At least it rotates. It wasn't doing that before. But I'm concerned that there will be some lateral wobble because it keeps hitting that hard patch. But what may happen is that if I just get it running, it'll wear itself in. I think that's as much as we can hope for, because it's just not on to strip that all down. Okay, let's have a shot at refitting the upper drum. Right, we're going to fit it like that, but we've got to try to run all the wires up these holes. Now, in the days of two-head video recorders, this wasn't so painful. You only had to run 4 wires up here, but this is a lot of wires. What can you say, JVC? Bad design. This feels very nearly impossible. You can't get them in there, can you? We're going to have to come up with some sort of solution. How's about I use a bit of scrap solid core wire here. And wrap the bundles in that. Oh well, give it a whirl. I think they're going to snag up on the way down. It only takes one wire to not get through, and you have to start again. That wire's definitely not going to get through. It's going up the centre. This is just dreadful, JVC. What were you thinking of, JVC? What were you thinking of? You really couldn't design a better solution than this? No, it's not going to work. Just such a dreadful, dreadful bit of design. Really frustrating. It's like they've gone out of their way to make something that just can't be repaired. And that's just not acceptable. Not in the 1980s when this was built. Professional piece of equipment. Sony would never have done this. I have some heat shrink sleeving here. If I can get all the wires into the sleeving, I should then be able to put the sleeving through the hole in the head. What do you reckon? Do you think that looks better? Is this what you would do? Check which orientation we have. Can't see the wires very well now. Does anybody remember what happened on a 2-head VHS deck if you put the heads on back to front? It played in black and white. Did you know that? Let's check we have all 6 wires for each side. Yes, I believe we have all the right cables. What I don't have just at the moment is which colour goes on which side. So I'll pull up the video I made earlier where I desoldered it. Is it free enough to spin? I don't think it is actually. I think it's still struggling. We can try, but I don't think that's going to spin. Put a tape in. And it won't lace either properly, because it never does quite lace on this machine. No, still not spinning. Oh, they're just about. Right, so all I need to do is help it lace up. I can do that underneath. And then we can get it to at least spin the drum and see maybe if it'll spin it for long enough that it will start to free up. But at the moment I think this drum is spinning too slow. Right, it's trying to play. I'm fairly sure the drum is spinning slow, but at least it's trying to play. Progress, I suppose. Shall we connect it to a monitor and see if we get a picture? Nothing. Got a freeze frame there. So there's a picture search thing which works rather well. Actually, reverse picture search, there was some tape slack. Don't know why. Worry about that later. Forward picture search. The meter here, which has got the RF level, is very low. See if there's anything I can do with tracking. No, it's just sitting there. It's shut down. It's going to be a warning. That's bad news because I know it can't lace up again, so that's not a good thing. It's not going to be happy now. Have to switch off and on. Oh, that's a nuisance because I have to help it with lacing. And the head drum seems to have stopped spinning. Is it jammed? Head drum is spinning slowly and we're not getting lace up completed. Oh, what a nuisance. So we'll have to help it lace up again. So it's fully laced and the head is spinning, the capstan's rotating. And the drums have stopped. And it's gone into alarm mode again. We've got problems with it not lacing up. We've got problems with the drum still binding. What would you do at this point? I think we might have to call it a day. And even when it looked like it was working, there wasn't even any hint of a picture and very low RF, which could mean that the heads are defective, or it could mean, of course, we just weren't getting up to speed. But I think we're at the end of the road. Let's have a poke about inside. Would you like a poke about inside? This was the IC I picked up a date code on earlier, 870 something, so that pretty much dates it. There's the moisture sensor or dew sensor. They go higher resistance when they get wet, which is the opposite of what you'd expect, possibly. That connector, I've not touched that. There's no reason for that to be all wonky, but it is all wonky. I'm trying to fall off. I wonder why. Shorts the signals connector because look, it's screened, so there's no bearing on our problems, but it was interestingly hanging off. What else do we have here? Big power supply along the edge here. Not sure what the design of the power supply is. There's a lot of stuff in here, isn't there? There's another board along in here. You've got all kinds of wires soldered to the back of it. Never like to see that. The sorted boards for connecting to the deck. This strange hours meter thing. Panels along the back, so I'm guessing this is probably the head amplifier. Some of them are labelled. This one says drum servo. That one says function, so that might be Syscon really. Then we've got some big panels along the left hand side here as well. Some sort of signals processing, I don't know. I think so. Oh look, the hours meter is marked here, 0 to 1000 hours, so it's got over 10,000 hours on it. And of course, being a professional, so-called professional machine, there's no tuner or timer. It's supposed to be a professional video recorder. But why is it not a professional video recorder? Well, you know, there's the reason there. H stands for home, video home system. Yes, I know it was originally supposed to stand for video by helical scan, but since all video formats, since quad anyway, have been helical scan, that was a stupid name. So they renamed it to video home system. And home is where VHS belongs, not in a studio. So there was its failing before it even started. But it is, it's a solidly built thing, and the thing I really do like is this idea of having one motor per reel. I think that's really nice. I love machines that do that. Other machines that do that include the SLC9 from Sony, SLF1 portable from Sony, and various Betacam SP machines, Digibeta from Sony, also V2000. In fact, my tape polishing machine here, you can just about see through all my wires. This is a reel motor from a Philips V2000 deck, and again you can see, look, by the top of that goes straight onto the cassette spool because there was one per reel. So various machines in the past have used that beautiful arrangement of having one motor per reel. But unfortunately, despite the fact it's clearly been a very expensive piece of kit in its day was in 1987, and I could probably have worked on the other problems. This loading motor problem I could have worked on, but I can't do anything about the fact that the head drum is binding. I've tried, I've made it better, at least it tries to rotate now, but it's not getting up to speed, I think. And that's why we're not getting any playback picture or anything on the signal meter on the front, because that's not getting up to speed. There's also every possibility, of course, that there are electronic faults buried in this myriad of electronics because there's so much of it. So we are at the end of the road, I'm afraid, JVC. You are going into the junk hole. Oh well. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this, even though it didn't come off. We had a good try with this old JVC and it wasn't to be. Now we do have, of course, over here. So this will be next, but we'll save this for the next video. This is the Panasonic Super VHS machine. Quite worrying though, it has sticky tape across the front, so that's kind of saying do not use this machine. It clearly has a problem, but this one at least might be worth fixing, and it should make an interesting video. So please do remember to like, share and especially subscribe, and I'll do more content on audio and video technology in the future. Bye for now.